Good evening everyone. Welcome to the News Today edition of 6th of January. My name is Anuj and I will be taking today's session. In today's session, we will be covering 5 main news and 5 quick update and 1 place in news. In main news, we will be covering about global minimum tax as OECD has finalized agreement on the global minimum tax. Then in the second news, we will be covering about the state finances as the CAG has released State Finances 2023-24 report. Then we will be covering about the State Development Board as the Delhi government has signed MOU with the RBI to manage borrowing and the cash flows. Then in the fourth news, we will be covering about the National Sports Governance Act as the partial implementation of this act has begun. Then in the fifth news, we will be covering about the NGT order which has issued notice to the environment violation around the Taj Mahal. Then we will be briefly covering 5 quick updates and 1 place in news. And place in news for today is Iran. So this is the brief about today's session. Let us begin with the first news for today. So the first news for today is about global minimum tax. And what is the context? The context here is that OECD has finalized agreement on the global minimum tax. So in this news, we will be covering about the global minimum tax and about the OECD as well. It is related to GS paper 2 where the syllabus talks about bilateral, regional and global grouping and agreement involving India and affecting India's interest. So let us begin the first news discussion in detail. First of all, the development. What is the development? We have already briefly discussed the context. Now let us understand the development. Here, OECD and G20 inclusive framework on base erosion and profit shifting have agreed on a side-by-side arrangement package for the coordinated operation for global minimum tax arrangement. Before understanding it, let us understand about multinational corporation and base erosion and profit shifting. It is very important to understand these two terms so that we can understand this news in detail. First of all, what are multinational companies? We all know about multinational companies as our friend or our relative might be working in these companies. And example here can be Apple, Hyundai and other companies. So basically those companies which are operating in more than one country are multinational companies. So now what is the requirement of this global minimum tax and what it is related to the multinational companies? So basically what multinational companies are doing, they are shifting their profit. What is this meaning of shifting of the profit? Suppose I am a company and I am operating in various countries. Suppose I am operating in India, I am operating in USA, then I am operating as well in the Ireland. So I will be earning profits from India, USA and Ireland. But the taxation rate in these 3 countries are different. So I will show my profit in a country which have low taxation rate. Here it can be Ireland. So I will be showing my profit that I am earning the maximum profit from a country like Ireland. So India and USA will have base erosion. That means the tax they should be getting will not be credited to their accounts. That is the meaning of base erosion and profit shifting. That means a multinational company is shifting their profit to the other country where there is low tax rate. And this also lead to the tax competition between various countries. Suppose I am a country and I want multinational corporation in my country. Then I will be keeping the tax rate very low. That will lead to increase in the multinational companies there. But what multinational companies are doing, they are showing their profits in a country where there is low tax rate. As the tax calculation and accountancy is very difficult and the laws of the various countries are very different, so it becomes easier for the multinational companies to do such activities. So this is the meaning of multinational companies and base erosion and the profit shifting. there was a direct question from this development, that is base erosion and profit shifting in year 2016, that we will be discussing after this news. Now let us understand about global minimum tax. So basically what this framework is providing, that minimum 15% of tax should be applied at the multinational companies. So that is the definition which is given here, that it is based on global anti-base erosion model rules. So there should not be any base erosion and the profit shifting. That is the basic meaning. And it will lead to better tax collection as well as low tax competition between the various countries. So now let us move forward and understand about the framework. So what are the framework? And the framework include 5 key component. We will understand one component at one time. First of all, simplification measures. When we were discussing the development, we have discussed that taxation laws and the laws related to accounts and related facts are very complex and very different in the various countries. So this package says that there should be simplification measures to reduce the compliance burden for the multinational enterprises as well as the tax authorities. Then it talks about tax incentive alignment. So many countries give tax incentives so that multinational companies can come. But these incentives should not be for that they are giving it to reduce the tax burden, but they are giving to increase the productivity and increase the employment and the growth of the country. Such tax incentives should be aligned with this package. Then it also talks about safe harbor for the qualifying multinational enterprises. So suppose in a country, if multinational enterprises is paying that 15% tax, then there should be a safe harbor for that multinational enterprises. Okay. Then in the 4th point, it talk about level playing field. So here this package talk about that the monitoring of the package should be in a fair manner and any country should not take advantage. So that monitoring and review of this package should be in a timely manner so that there is a level playing field. And lastly, talk about domestic minimum tax protection. So suppose a company is paying 10% tax here and there is requirement of 15% under global minimum tax, so that 5% should be given to the domestic country. That is the meaning of this last principle. And it talks about reinforcement of the qualified domestic minimum top-up tax regime. The top-up here is this 5%. So these are the principle given under this package. Now let us understand about the OECD and G20 inclusive framework on base erosion and profit shifting. When it was launched in 2016, and when the question on this came in the UPSC in the same year 2016, that shows the importance of the current affairs for the UPSC examination. Then it was led by, or it is led by, OECD and G20. And what is its objective? You might have understand about objective when we discussed about the minimum global tax. So its objective is to tackle base erosion and profit shifting by multinational enterprises or multinational corporations. So basically this objective is there, that it should tackle the base erosion and profit shifting, so that multinational companies should pay the tax to the domestic or the local countries. Then about its membership, there are 147 countries and India is also a member. This is very important, that India is also a member of this framework. Okay, then its key pillar, there are two key pillars. Pillar 1 talks about reallocating tax right to the market jurisdiction where profits are generated. That means if profit is generated in India, it should be collected in India itself. Then pillar 2 talks about introduction of global minimum corporate tax, that is 15% to curb tax competition. We have talked about the tax competition between various countries. So these are the two pillars. Pillar 1 talks about reallocating tax right to the market jurisdiction where the profits are generated. Pillar 2 talks about introduction of global minimum corporate tax to curb the tax competition. So these are the two pillars. Now let us discuss the PYQ related to this news. PYQ is from 2016 prelims examination, and it is very simple. The question is, the term base erosion and profit shifting is sometimes seen in the news in the context of A. Mining operation by multinational companies in resource rich but the backward areas. B. Curbing of the tax evasion by the multinational companies. I think if you have listened to the news, you can directly solve this question. That is the correct answer, that it is there for curbing of the tax evasion by the multinational companies. Then there are other two statements, that is C. Exploitation of genetic resources of a country by multinational companies. Then D. Lack of consideration of environmental cost in the planning and implementation of the development projects. So the answer here is B. With this we have completed the first news. So now let us move to the second news. Second news is related to the state finances, and the context here is that CAG has released the State Finances 2023-24 report. This is the second edition. In this news, we will be covering about the key highlight which has been given in this report. It is related to paper 3, where syllabus talks about government budgeting. Now let us discuss this news. So the development, we have already discussed the context. Now let us understand about the development. It is the second edition. The first edition, I think, was brought out in September. So it is the second edition which present an overview of the finances of all the 28 states in the year 2023 and 24. Along with this report also analyzes the state finance of the last decade, that is the last 10 years. So this is the development. Now let us look at the key highlight which has been given in this report. First of all, the public debt of the state. What is the meaning of public debt? So basically, there are two types of revenue for a state. One can be the revenue of the state, that is through tax and capital revenue, and another one is through the debts, that can be through the government securities and the other types of loan. So the report has said that around 67.87 lakh crore, that is around 23% of state GDP, is the public debt as of March 31 of 2024. So this is the first highlight given in the report. Secondly, it talks about fiscal deficit. What is the fiscal deficit? So basically it's simple, that total expenditure of the government minus the total revenue is the fiscal deficit of the government, for the central government as well as for the state government. It is simple, it is the total expenditure minus the total revenue of the government. So what the report is saying about the fiscal deficit? It is saying that 18 states have exceeded the 3.3% of the state GDP, which was given under by the 15th Finance Commission. So this benchmark of 3% of state GDP was given by the 15th Finance Commission, and this has led to the extreme fiscal rigidity. That means there is a lack of space for the new development. And it is also given that 60% of the state funds are going for the salaries. So state does not have funds to be allocated for the new development project, especially the capital projects. So this is given here that there is extreme fiscal rigidity. Suppose I have 100 rupees and I have to give 60 rupees every month to something. So I will be remaining only with the 40 rupees, and there will be lack of chances that I will be investing those 40 rupees for the capital investment, which require a lot of investment. So this is given in this report. Now this graph talks about the total outstanding public debt of the states. Okay, so please read about that. Can states borrow from outside the India, outside of the India, along with Article 293 of the Constitution? Please read about it. And what were the changes made by the cabinet in the year 2017? Okay, please be clear. Can state borrow from the outside of the India? Read about Article 293 and what are the changes made in the borrowing capacity of the states from outside of the India. Please read about it. Then coming to the total outstanding public debt of the state. So these bars shows the total outstanding debt of the state. So in the year 2014-15 it was around 20.04 lakhs crore, and recently it has risen to the 67.87 lakh crore. So it is consistently increasing. Trend based questions are often asked in the UPSC examination. So what is the trend here? In the total outstanding public debt of the state, that is consistently increasing. But when we talk about debt to the GDP, state GDP ratio, that has increased to 25% after the COVID, but now it has decreased to 23%. So here the trend is that it has increased to 25%, then after the COVID it has came down. Okay, so the trends based questions are very common in the UPSC prelims examination. Now let us look at the other highlights which are given in this report. It is also talking about the reliance on the union tax devolution. That means the states are depending a lot on the devolution from the center. So if there is a disturbance at the center level, there will be disturbance at the state level as well. And they have supported it with the data that it has risen from 21% in year 2014-15 to 30% in 2023-24 for the revenue. So this is the fact here, that the reliance on the union tax devolution is very high. Then it also talks about the low capital expenditure. We have discussed about it, that the revenue expenditure continues to be dominating at the 83%, whereas the capital expenditure is only about 16%. What is the revenue expenditure as well as the capital expenditure? Whenever you are understanding the economic topic, please be very clear with the basics. So revenue expenditure include the interest payment on the various loan, also includes the payment of salaries and other. Then capital expenditure include the expenditure on the formation of assets such as roads and building. as well as it also include the payment of the loan. That means if there is payment of the loan, interest is under the revenue, loan is under the capital. So this is revenue expenditure as well as the capital expenditure. Then there is transparency gap, and they are talking about that there is shadow budgeting problem. What it means, that there are sometime miscalculation by the state official which leads to the wrong budget, and which also lead to the wrong calculation of the state GDP. They have also recommended one important thing, and what is that? That they have recommended, so to address the persistent lack of uniformity in state to classify the spending, CAG has suggested that there should be harmonization of the object head. What it means, suppose I am spending something on construction of a bridge, so it should be classified as the capital expenditure by every state. That can lead to harmonization of the data at a better way. That is the recommendation which has been given by the CAG. Now let us look into the PYQ related to this news. First PYQ is from prelims examination of year 2016. And what is the question? The question is, which of the following are included in the capital budget of the Government of India? So the expenditure on acquisition of assets like road, building and machinery. Capital expenditure, we have discussed about capital as well as the revenue expenditure. So expenditure on the acquisition of assets like road, building and machinery is there under capital expenditure. Then loan received from the foreign government, it is also under capital expenditure. We have discussed about payment of interest and the loans. Then loans and advances granted to the state and the union territories. Here it is talking about Government of India. We have mostly discussed about the state government. Okay, so these three are under the heading of capital expenditure. So answer will be D, 1, 2 and 3. That is the importance of clearing the basics of economics in the prelims examination. Now let us look at the PYQ from the mains examination. The question is, explain how the fiscal health index can be used as a tool for assessing the fiscal performance of the state in India, and what way would it encourage the states to adopt prudent and sustainable fiscal policies. So the first half is not related to this news. The second half talks about the prudent and sustainable fiscal policies. That here you can write about that more expenditure should be given to the capital expenditure. Okay, so with this we have completed the second main news. Now let us discuss the third main news. Third main news is also related to the taxation and the maintenance of the state development loans. So the context here is that Delhi government has signed MOU with the RBI to manage borrowing and the cash flows. In this news, we will be covering about state development bond, functioning of the RBI in detail. It is related to GS paper 3, where syllabus talks about government budgeting. Now let us discuss the development. So the development here is that this MOU will enable the Reserve Bank of India to function as the bank, debt manager and the financial agent for the Delhi government. Okay, and it will include functions such as management of the public debt of the state carried out by the RBI in terms of the agreement entered. So all the states are there in such type of agreement with the RBI except the one state. The name of that state is Sikkim. So all the states are in agreement with the RBI to manage their cash flow and debt except the Sikkim. It is an important fact because only one state is not in the agreement with the Reserve Banks of India. Now let us understand about the role of RBI as bankers to the government. Okay, first of all, let us understand here about bond. Suppose I want money. I can stand here and I can say to the public that give me money and I will invest it somewhere. But no one will trust me. But here we are talking about government. People trust the government. So here bonds are issued and they are issued on a face value that I will be paying this amount of interest after the completion of this time period. Okay, it can be issued to the banks, it can be issued to us as well. Recently there was changes brought in year I think 2021 and 22 I think, where the retail investors like us can also invest in the government securities. Okay, so this was the change brought in the government securities, that individual can also participate in them. So for central government, RBI has the obligation to undertake the receipt and payment and to carry out the exchange, remittance and the other banking operation. So for the central government, RBI has the obligation, but for the state governments, RBI goes into the agreement. Okay, so we have already understood that Sikkim is not in that agreement. Now coming it to the issues securities, the central government can issue both treasury bills and bonds. What is a bill? What is a bond? You might have studied about money market and the capital market. When the time period of a bond is or the bill is less than 1 year, it come under money market, and when the time period is more than 1 year, it is under the capital market. And government securities are under the capital market, whereas the treasury bill that can be less than 365 days, they are under the money market. Please be very clear about money market and capital market. Money market means less than 1 year. Capital market means more than 1 year. 1 year here means 365 days. Then while the state government can issue only the bonds, that means the state government cannot issue the treasury bills. Please be very clear that central government can issue both treasury bills as well as the government securities, whereas the state government can only issue bond. That means they can only issue the bond that is there for more than 1 year, and their bonds are known as state development loans. Okay, and there is last information which is given that RBI also maintains the principal account of the central as well as the state government, as it is central account section in Nagpur. So this is about the role of RBI as bankers to the government. Now let us understand about the other functions of the RBI. First of all, it is the monetary authority of the country. There is fiscal policy, there is monetary policy. Fiscal policy is taken by the governments. It includes taxation and other things, whereas the monetary policy is taken by the central government, and here it is RBI. It includes bank rates, repo rate and other things. Then it prescribes broad parameter for the banking operations. So banks in India are looked after by the RBI. Then it manages the foreign exchange under the FEMA Act of the 1999. What is this foreign exchange? That means it kept some foreign exchange for protection, and if there is high volatility in the rate of the rupees, it will kick in. That is RBI. Then it issues, exchange and destroys currency notes. Whenever you find notes in your houses which is destroyed, you can directly go to the RBI and exchange that note. That is the meaning of it. Issues as well, it exchange as well, and it destroys currency as well. Then it is bankers to the banks. That means for us the bank is there, but for banks the bank is RBI. That is the meaning of bankers to the banks. So these are the other functions of RBI. Now let us look at the PYQ related to this news. The first PYQ is from the year 2018. Please try to solve it. Okay, the question is, consider the following statement. The Reserve Bank of India manages and services Government of India securities, but not any state government securities. We have discussed it. With the agreement, it also gives service to the state government. So this is a wrong statement. Then second statement, treasury bills are issued by the Government of India and there are no treasury bills issued by the state government. We have discussed this. It is an correct statement. Then third, treasury bill offer are issued at a discount from the par value. That means suppose I will be paying you 100 rupees, but the treasury bill will be issued for 98 rupees. That means 100 rupees will be paid you after the completion of that time. That is the meaning of this statement, and it is also a correct statement. Then answer will be C, 2 and 3. Now let us discuss one more PYQ related to this news. It is from year 2021. In India, the central bank function as the lender of the last resort, usually referred to which of the following? Lender of the last resort. First, lending to the trade and industry bodies. Okay, have we read that RBI directly lend to the industries? No. So the first statement is incorrect. Second, providing liquidity to the bank having a temporary crisis. When we have crisis of money, we can go to the banks. But when banks have the crisis, they can go to their bank. And what is their bank? It is the RBI. Bankers of the bank. So the second statement is correct. Third, lending to the government to the finance budgetary deficit. It can lend to the government to finance budgetary deficit, but that does not come under the lender of the last resort. So the answer will be B, 2 only. Okay, with this we have completed the third main news for today. Now let us discuss the fourth main news. And what is the context? The context is that the partial implementation of National Sports Governance Act has begun. In this news, we will be covering about sports administration in India and about the key provision of this act in detail. It is related to GS paper 2, where syllabus talks about important aspect of governance, transparency and accountability. Let us understand this news. First of all, the development. So with effect from January 1, 2026, institutional mechanism, the act which provide such as national sports bodies, which include National Olympic Committee, National Paralympic Committee, National Sports Federation and Regional Sports Federation have came into effect. This is the development. We will be understanding about national sports bodies, national Olympic bodies and other bodies in detail when we will be discussing about this act. So before understanding that, let us understand about sports regulation. So sports regulation is under the state list in the 7th schedule. Please be very clear that sports regulation in India is under state governments. Okay, and there are many regulatory bodies such as SAI, Sports Administration of India, Sports Authority of India, sorry. Then Indian Olympics Committee, and there are national sports bodies for more than 50 sports. That's how the administration of sports in India, and sports regulation in India is under state government. Now let us understand about this act in detail. First of all, it established the National Sports Board. So this board will be the apex regulatory body which will be empowered to grant, renew, suspend or cancel recognition of the national sports bodies. This is National Sports Board, which is the apex regulatory body. And any national sport body or any sport body which is not under this act will not get fund from the central government. That is given under this act, that if a body is not connected with the National Sport Board, will not get any funds. Okay, and the other function, it will collaborate with the international sports bodies and the national sports bodies. Okay, here we are talking about National Sport Board. Now let us understand about national sport bodies. So they are there for the regulation of their respective sports. It also includes the National Olympics Committee, which will regulate and regularize whatever sports are under Olympics. There was a direct question from in year I think 2021 where they asked about the addition of new sports in the Olympics. I think that year breaking dance or something was added, or I think basketball was added, that was asked. Then it will also recognize the organization of National Paralympics Committee, which is there for the Paralympic sports. Then the other bodies under which this will be the National Sports Federation, which will be presently there for the particular sports, as well as it will also include the bodies such as Regional Sports Federation. So these are the two highlights. Now let us understand the other highlight under this act. It will also establish the National Sports Tribunals. What are tribunals are there for? They are there for solving the issues. So they will provide independent, speedy, effective and cost-efficient disposal of the sports-related disputes. So any sports-related dispute will be solved through the National Sports Tribunals. But it won't include two types of sports or two types of issue. First, any dispute which has arisen in the Olympics games, Paralympics game or Commonwealth game or the Asian game. That means at the international forums, if there is the dispute, it won't solve that. Then any issue which is related to doping, that will be solved by the National Anti-Doping Act. That will be solved by National Anti-Doping Act. Then it will establish a National Sports Selection Panel, which will provide a central roster of the experienced former election official to oversee fair and transparent election in the sports federation. There is a lot of issue of elections in the sports federation, so it will provide a central roster of the experienced former election officials. Along with this, it will also try to balance and try to improve the ethics in the sports. For that, it is their ethical and the safe sports framework. So it's call out for the adoption of the code of ethics and promotion of the safe sport policies. So if there is mishandling of the athlete, or if athletes are injured by the sports infrastructure, or there is issues to the women athlete, this will prevent them because there will be a code of ethics. Then it also promote accountability and transparency, as these sports board will be under the RTI Act. So if I want any information regarding these sports boards and sports bodies, I can take the information through this Right to Information Act of 2005. Then it also establish the financial oversight, as the account of boards will be audited by the CAG of India. So it will provide how the finances are used by the boards. So it will lead to better accountability and the transparency in the sports management and the sports administration of India. Now let us discuss the PYQ related to this news. The first PYQ is from 2025. This is not the direct question from the information which we have discussed, but it is there to look at what type of questions are coming from the sports. So the question is, consider the following statement in the respect of the first Kho-Kho World Cup. First of all, it was important because it was the first Kho-Kho World Cup. And the statement given that the event was held in Delhi, India. And the Indian men beat the Nepal with the score of 78-40 in the final to become the world champion in the men's category. Then Indian women beat Nepal with the score of 54-36 in the final to become the world champion in the women category. So these are the statements which are given. Here the first statement is correct. But second and third statements are partially correct, whereas the scores are interchanged. So it was there for men's and it was there for women. So the only one statement is correct, that is one only. Now let us look at the question from the mains, which was asked in year 2014. The question is, an athlete participates in Olympics for personal triumphs and national glory. Victors are showered with the cash incentives by the various agencies on their return. Discuss the merit of state-sponsored talent hunt and its cultivation as against the rationale of reward mechanism as the encouragement. You might have often seen that many a times athletes are not supported at their initial level, but they are awarded with the sports, and there is a hero worshipping in India. When they win at any particular event, they are showered with the money and the praise, but no one encourages them at the grassroots level. So this question is about that, and it is the part of social justice. Okay, so with this we have completed this news. Now let us understand and discuss the next news for today. So the next news is about the NGT notice. And what is the NGT notice? The NGT has issued notice on environmental violation around the Taj Mahal. If you have visited Taj Mahal, you might have noticed that in and around Taj Mahal, there is lot of construction activities which is going on for activities such as selfie points. Because for the tourist, now taking a photo is more important than looking at the Taj Mahal. So they have not directly talked about this point, but they have talked about the selfie points, because for construction of selfie points, there is usage for the concrete, or there is the fall down of trees. That is the context here. It is related to GS paper 3, where syllabus talks about the conservation and the environment pollution. Now let us discuss the development. So the NGT, which stands for National Green Tribunals, has noticed to the center as well as the UP government and highlighted concerns over the non-compliance when the environmental norm in the protected Taj Trapezium zone. We will be understanding about the Taj Trapezium zone in the next slide. Before that, let us understand what is the issue. So issue here is that there is rampant construction and felling of trees, which has resulted in the decrease of the green cover in and around Taj Mahal. That is the development. And they are also noticed that over the year, air and water pollution has caused the Taj Mahal white marbles to turn them into yellow and darken them. It has also talked as the Taj cancer. It is also called as the Taj cancer. So they are basically saying that over the years, air and water pollution has caused the Taj Mahal white marble to turn into the yellow, as well as it has led to the darken of the white marbles. That is the development. Now let us understand about the Taj Trapezium zone. So it is a protected eco-sensitive zone of 10,400 square kilometer around the Taj Mahal. So what is eco-sensitive zone? Basically, it is a buffer which is provided in and around the important factors, important areas such as National Park. And here the important area is Taj. So that is eco-sensitive zone, and it was established under MC Mehta case of 1996, that also include Agra Fort and Fatehpur Sikri. So here the three important UNESCO sites, Taj Mahal, Agra Fort and Fatehpur Sikri, are included under Taj Trapezium zone, and it was established, the Taj Trapezium Zone Pollution Prevention and Control Authority was also created under this act, and this authority is under the Environment Protection Act of 1986. Okay, and in the year 2015, in this MC Mehta case, Supreme Court has banned felling of trees within the 5-kilometer aerial distance from the Taj Mahal without the permission of the Supreme Court. So if someone has to take out the tree from the 5-kilometer zone, they have to take permission from the Supreme Court. So this was about the Taj Trapezium zone. Now let us understand about the NGT. So basically it is a statutory body which was established in the year 2010 under the NGT Act. So it is a statutory body, and its enforcement, basically it strengthens compliance with the environmental laws, and in particular 7 environmental laws, which includes Water Act of 1974, Air Act of 1981, Environmental Act of 1986, then Biodiversity Act of 2022, and there are other 2-3 acts as well. But it excludes certain acts such as Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, Indian Forest Act of 1927, and Scheduled Tribe and other traditional forest dwellers recognition of forest right of Act of 2006. So these are the exception to the NGT, and it include the 7 Act. Please be very clear about those 7 Act, and it has to give orders within the 6 months, and its orders are binding but not final. That means that they can be revised, as well as the petition against the order of NGT can be presented at the Supreme Court. So these were the information regarding the National Green Tribunals. Now let us look at the PYQ, which is directly related to this news. It is from the year 2018, and the question is, how is the National Green Tribunal different from the Central Pollution Control Board? So the NGT has been established by an act, whereas CPCB has been created by the executive order of the government. So this is partially correct. The statement till here is correct, that NGT has been established by an act, but CPCB is created by executive order. No, this is not the correct information. It is established under Water Act of 1974, that is for prevention and controlling of pollution of water. Then NGT provide environment justice and help reduce burdens of litigation in the higher court, whereas CPCB promote cleanliness of the streams and wells and aims to improve the quality of air in the country. So the second statement is correct. It talks about the function of NGT and Central Pollution Control Board. Okay, so the second statement is correct. With this, we have completed all the main news for today. Now let us discuss the place in news for today. So the place in news for today is Iran. And what is the context? The context is that India has issued an advisory urging its national to avoid any non-essential travel to Iran until further notice amid the ongoing protests. So you might be reading about the protests which are going on in the Iran. So Indian government has issued an advisory urging our nationals to avoid any non-essential travel to the Iran. In this news, we will be covering about the features of Iran. Before looking at the features, let us look at the map of the Iran. So Iran, it is there in the Middle East or West Asia. Okay, so it is member of BRICS, it is member of SCO, it is member of OPEC. We have discussed about OPEC yesterday. So there are 12 oil producing countries in that. So it is member of BRICS, SCO and OPEC. Then its land border, it share border with Armenia, Azerbaijan and Turkmenistan in the north, and Afghanistan and Pakistan in the east, and Iraq and Turkey in the west. Here is Iraq, here Turkey, then it Armenia, Azerbaijan and Turkmenistan, and Pakistan and Afghanistan. Then talking about maritime boundaries, it share border with the Caspian Sea. It is important. Please learn about the countries which share border with the Caspian Sea. It also share border with the Persian Gulf. It also share border with the Gulf of Oman. Then there is Lake Urmia. It was also there in the news in recent past because of deterioration of the condition in this lake. And this lake Urmia is there in the Iran. You might have also studied about Ramsar Convention. Ramsar is also a country which is there in the Iran. So Lake Urmia is an endorheic salt lake which is the largest lake in the Middle East. Now coming to resource potential, it has the second position in world when come to the natural gas reserve. And which is the first country? Russia. Then coming to the crude oil reserve, it stand at the fourth position. And which country is at the first place? It is Venezuela. We have understand and studied about Venezuela yesterday. At the second place, Saudi Arabia. At the third place, it is Canada. Then at the fourth place, it is Iran. Okay, with this, we have covered the place in news for today. Now let us look at the various quick updates which are there for today. And the first quick update is regarding the quantum electrodynamics. So whenever there is a science topic, please try to simplify it and understand it rather than running away from it. And what is the context? The context is that researchers from the National Institute for Fusion Science provided a first principle formulation explaining how classical electromagnetic field emerges directly from the quantum electrodynamics. So here we have to understand what is the meaning of quantum electrodynamics. Basically, it is interaction of the light and the electricity at very small level. And in classical physics, it is the electromagnetic force which is there between various components such as electron and proton. So here the meaning of this principle should be very clear, that is quantum electrodynamics. If you understand the meaning, that will be the sufficient. Its meaning is interaction of the light and the electricity at very small level, that is at the quantum level. And for this, the Nobel Prize in Physics 1965 was awarded for quantum electrodynamics. And there are some applications of it which include the particle physics, quantum optics, semiconductor and laser technology. So this was about the quantum electrodynamics. Now let us move to the second quick update. The second quick update is about e-business visa. And what is the context? The context here is that India has introduced an e-production investment business visa, which is called as EB4 visa for Chinese businessmen, which will be issued for about 45 to 50 days. And it will give them permission for staying in 6 months. So if there can be a question like for which country e-business visa has been introduced, it has been introduced for China. This information that it will be issued in 45 to 50 days or it will be issued for them staying up to 6 months is not that important, but important information it is for China. And what it will be cover? It will cover Chinese businessmen who can apply for installation and commissioning of equipment, for quality check and essential maintenance, and supply chain development for impaneling vendors. So this was about e-business visa. Now let us move to the third quick update. The third quick update is about Payment Regulatory Board. It was recently established by RBI. And the context here is that RBI governor has chaired the first meeting of Payment Regulatory Board. So as we have discussed that it was recently established, and the context here is that RBI governor has chaired the first meeting of Payment Regulatory Board. What it is? It was set up by RBI in 2025 under the Payment and Settlement System Act of 2007. Please be very clear about this act. On this act, there were two PYQs. One was related to how ATMs are operated in India. ATMs are also operated under this act. Okay, then its mandate of Payment Regulatory Board, it's for regulation and supervision of all the payment systems such as electronic and non-electronic, domestic as well as the cross-border. This statement is very important. First of all, this board is important because this board has been established this year. Its function is important. Its function is regulation and supervision of all the payment systems such as electronic, non-electronic, domestic as well as the cross-border. And it has replaced the Board for Regulation and Supervision of Payment and Settlement System. So basically there was a board, but it was replaced by this Payment Regulatory Board. And coming to its composition, it is chaired by the RBI governor. So here for the first meeting, RBI governor has chaired it. Then there are other members such as 2 RBI representative and 3 central government nominees. So this was about Payment Regulatory Board. Now let us move to the next quick update. The next quick update is about Kusanas. And what is the context? The context here is that the archaeologists have discussed rare Kusana era coins and decorative stones, including the lapis lazuli. It is a special kind of stones from a UNESCO site near Takshashila. You might have studied about Takshila University. So in this news, we will be covering about Kusanas in very brief. Okay, Kusanas as a topic is a very large topic and it is given in a very clear way in NCERTs. Here we will be touching very simple fact about Kusanas. So it's coming to their origin. They have originated from Central Asian Yuchi tribe established in the vast trans-regional empire. And Kanishka I was the greatest Kusana ruler which promoted Buddhism and conveyed the 4th Buddhist Council. Where does the 4th Buddhist Council was held? It was held in Kashmir. And their empire was divided into strapes governed by the strapas, which indicate the decentralized control. And they control the northwest India, which include the Gandhara and the Kashmir, the Mathura region, as well as Ganga Yamuna Doab up to Bihar. When you read about Kusanas, read about the Gandhara art, and the Mathura art. They were patronized by Kusanas. They issued extensive gold coin, but they were not the first issuer of the gold coin. Who were the first issuer of the gold coin? It was Indo-Greek. Okay. Now let us move to the next and the last quick update. The last quick update is about the strategic importance of the Greenland. And what is the context? The context is Danish PM rejected the claim of US president over the Greenland. So there is tussle going on between now. President Trump is claiming that Greenland is also part of America, that they will include Greenland into America. And why they are saying it? Because it has strategic importance. For one, that is military and the security infrastructure. You can see the map. It lies very close to the United States, Alaska, and from here they can control the European region, they can control the Russia. That means they can look after those regions. That's why it has a military as well as the security infrastructure importance. Then it is also important for critical minerals and natural resources. As ice is melting, whatever the resources which are present in the Greenland, it will become easy to extract them. Then it is also important for emerging Arctic shipping route. As ice is melting, there will be route in the Arctic Ocean. So that through the Arctic route, their choke points such as Panama and Red Sea can be avoided, and there can be increase in the shipping in the Arctic Ocean. So these are the importance or the strategic importance of the Greenland. With this, we have completed the news today, discussion of today. And to read further about current affairs of us, you can visit the digital current affairs website of us, and please solve the question which are visible on your screen. Thank you and all the best for your preparation.